What's up, YouTube? Welcome. God damn, my lips are dry. All right, so we all witnessed what happened on Saturday. And though it kind of went as expected, we can't help but marvel at what Canelo has become. The world understands now that he is the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. I mean, you could debate some other names like Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, or name whoever. And at this point, I think we all know Canelo's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. It just seems different. The guy is a 3D character in a 2D world at this point, every time he steps into the ring. And though we all know this, Billy Joe, you got to give him props, because during the buildup of the fight, he made us believe that this guy was different. He's undefeated. I got the will. He didn't come in defeated like most of Canelo's opponents. But Canelo did, as Canelo does, break you down methodically. He is playing chess. He's not playing to win every round. He's playing to win the fight. And that's when you know you've seen fighters reach this level, especially in boxing, because there's 12 rounds more than UFC, where they can play the long game a little better. There's this beautiful, you know, the Queen's Gambit type thing, where it's just like there's a bigger move at play here. When you watch a fight, understand, this is how I judge a fight, and this is how everyone should judge a fight. Who is in control? Who is getting the result they want? Chris Mannix was doing the live scorecard, the unofficial scorecard, right? The scorecard, when you watch in boxing and the round begins, be like, hey, let's go to Chris Mannix for his unofficial scorecard. And you see a little scorecard pop up on the bottom. It says unofficial because they want to make it clear that that's not the scorecard that will be judging the fight. It's not the scorecard of the judges. And ultimately, the judges make the decision. And it seemed like the judges had the right thing in mind when we saw the final scorecard. So going into the 8th round, Chris Mannix shows his unofficial scorecard. This is the last round that Billy Joe Saunders fought. He didn't get to see the 9th round. He quit on the stool. And I'll touch on that in a second, the whole quitting aspect, whether he quit or not, and my take on the whole situation. That being said, going into the 8th round, that means he's been able to unofficially score the first 7 rounds. He had Canelo losing by 3 points. He had Billy Joe Saunders 68-65. Did Billy Joe Saunders have moments in which he won? Did Billy Joe Saunders show flashes? Correct. Did he have moments in which he won? We were winning. Did he win moments of the fight? Yeah. Did he have moments of success? Yes. Was he up 3 rounds going into the 8th round? No. Let's put it into perspective. If this was an accidental headbutt or something happened in the fight, there was an accidental reason for the fight cannot continue, right? Which means it goes to the scorecards. It wouldn't be counted as a TKO. This is something that needs to go to the scorecards, which means however much of the fight the judges have scored at this point would be the deciding factor on who wins or loses. Chris Mannix, if you can tell yourself that if the fight ended at the end of the 7th round and it went to the judges, and you were one of the judges or one of the scorecards that had to be turned in, you thought that Billy Joe Saunders was winning that fight by 3 rounds going into the 8th? What? Listen, I don't like to call out, you know, there's a big thing on commentators or announcers for a certain streaming, for a certain service or a certain network, and they tend to have biases. And I get that. And I think that is very true, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. It is an egregious thing to say that you saw that fight and you had the best seat in that fight. You were up close and ringside, and that scorecard could have been the decision in an accidental headbutt, saying that you thought Billy Joe Saunders should have won that fight. There's no way you saw that fight towards the end of the 7th round and said Billy Joe Saunders is winning this fight. Likely what's happening here is that you likely have not seen enough boxing. You have not seen enough boxing, or you were confused as to what you were seeing. You're watching the punch stats maybe. You're watching movement and activity over actually the storyline that's happening in the fight. Also, maybe you have Canelo fatigue, which is a real thing, where you've seen Canelo as of late be so dominant that anybody that has some sort of resemblance of success against him, which means you landing a jab or in Billy Joe's case a straight left or overhand left, or anybody that's gotten points against Canelo, that you like, oh man, that's a win, because no one has been able to do that. No, you have to be objective and you have to understand what you're watching. You can't have Canelo fatigue. I know this happens to the greats in all sports, like the Michael Jordans and the LeBrons and the Tom Brady's in football, and you get fatigue of these guys that just dominate year after year. That when anybody shows, or they show any chink in the armor, anybody shows any success against them, whoa, There's something happening here. This guy's winning. He's not winning. And this happened with Floyd Mayweather too. Somebody lands a good hit on Floyd, the world stops, because it just doesn't happen often. And that's not how you judge rounds. Rounds are not judged on a fighter and what he's been able to do in terms of dominance before and how he looked in this fight. Especially with the caliber fighter of Canelo. He is an intellectual. He is a cerebral fighter. You understand that this guy is playing chess. In fact, some of his best shots are feints and fake punches. We've seen him set people up all the time. Not to touch on Billy Joe Saunders quitting. Did he quit? He did quit. Billy Joe Saunders quit. I've seen enough boxing. I've seen this story play out so many times, and I know when a fighter wants to continue and when he doesn't. Maybe he was not the one to spew the words "I quit," but he was not arguing for for his right to stay in the ring. He wasn't arguing to change the minds of his corner or the referee to allow him to continue. When a fighter really wants to continue, he'll make his case, and he quit. That being said, I don't hold that against fighters, because getting in the ring is difficult on his own. Fighting another man, you're trapped with another man who is out to kill you. Y'all both are shirtless and in front of an arena full of fans. That shit ain't easy. It's easy to call somebody a quitter when you're not the one fighting. And many fighters do need to be saved from themselves because they want to continue. But yet, that could be the difference between you speaking well at 55. That could be the difference between you walking back home to your family. That could be the difference between you going back home to your family. I'm not a fighter, and I wouldn't be the one to tell you go out on your shield. But a spade's a spade, and he quit in that corner. And there are other fighters that would have been in his situation would have kept going. And that's what it is. I don't hold against him going forward. It doesn't change how I view Billy Joe Saunders. Exactly what I thought he was going into the fight. Because if that dude had kept going and lost his sight, or have been injured to the point where the quality of his life has changed going forward, or even worse, God forbid, death, then we've seen these instances happen in boxing. You guys would have been looking somebody to blame. Oh, it's the referee. He should have stopped it. Or it's the corner. How dare he not stop it? It's okay to reach your threshold and live to fight another day. So what's next for Canelo? It is obvious. It's Caleb Plant. Canelo has set his eyes on the goal of unifying and being the undisputed champion, the first undisputed champion at super middleweight division, which is 168 pounds. Does this sound familiar? I just spoke about being undisputed champion in one of my previous boxing videos, and it's not a coincidence that it's such a rare occurrence is being chased. Something has happened. There's been a shift in boxing where belts have been devalued. There's been a watering down of the belts, and you know whose fault that is? The belt organizations themselves. These guys issuing so many different belts just to get sanctioning fees. And yes, sanctioning fees. It means if you have the belt, you fighting for the belt, you have to pay a sanctioning fee to these organizations. And let me just tell you what the numbers are. At the highest level, to pay close to $40,000 sanctioning fee in a fight. If you're a fighter with multiple belts at the highest level, you have to pay part of that purse that you're getting at the fight. You have to pay a hefty sanctioning fee. So it is to the organization's benefits to have a super champion, a regular champion, an interim champion, intercontinental champion, a whatever champion, a local champion, a regional champion. Why? Because it's probably you have 10 belts, and for each division, and each of those belt holders have to pay you a sanctioning fee. You get it? Follow the money. It's all this money, man. Before, climbing the pound for pound list was usually equated to how many divisions have you conquered. You don't have to get all the belts. Just go up a division, fight one of the champions, get a belt, then go to the next division, right? Because Manny Pacquiao did 8, De La Hoya did 6, Floyd did 5. But something happened, and I like to say it started around Gennady Golovkin. The Gennady Golovkin era, Gennady Golovkin had no interest in moving up in weight. He said, I'm going to stay at middleweight, and I'm going to just clear out everyone in the division and claim all the belts. And we saw how difficult he was. He actually never accomplished his dream, right? Then what happens next? Teofimo gets a version of the lightweight championship. And then he fights Lomachenko, which had all other versions of the lightweight championship. And he beats Lomachenko and becomes undisputed. So wait, it's possible. Golovkin couldn't do it, but Teo did it. This is called undisputed. And the reason I'm saying this is because Canelo is chasing this. Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua are chasing this in the heavyweight division. Teofimo just did this at the end of last year when beating Lomachenko, became an undisputed champion. And now we have this fight in May 22nd that has Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez. Both have 2 versions of the lightweight championship, and all the belts are on the line. They're going to be fighting each other, and then we will be named a second undisputed champion. It's a rare occurrence. It's about to happen twice in a 1-year span. We're about to have 2 undisputed champions. So if Canelo fights Caleb Plant, whoever wins that's going to be an undisputed champion. That's 3. If Tyson Fury fights Anthony Joshua, there's another undisputed champion. That'll be 4 undisputed champions. We're entering a phase in boxing that we've never seen before. And then there's another level. Teofimo and the winner of next week's fight, and the reason I'm bringing this up, Ramirez and Taylor, the winner of that fight will be the undisputed champion at light welterweight, which is 140 pounds. Teofimo, being 1 division down at 135, is the undisputed champion at lightweight. We'll have 2 undisputed champions 1 division away from each other. Now, you remember what I mentioned earlier. Not too long ago, pound for pound was based on people climbing divisions and conquering different divisions. And as of late, it's been more dedicated to conquering belts at every division, really conquering the division in its entirety. And we have a possibility that if Teofimo moves up to 140 pounds, he can fight another undisputed champion. We will be seeing 2 undisputed champions. There's a possibility. Now, in boxing, you can't predict too far ahead because you don't know what happens. It takes 1 punch to change the timeline and everything. All you thought that could happen, right? Let's say Jose Ramirez wins or Josh Taylor wins. Let's say Jose Ramirez wins, hypothetically. We will have Teofimo Lopez, the undisputed champion at lightweight, and Jose Ramirez, the undisputed champion at light welterweight. They can easily, it's a 5-pound change in weight class, right? 135 to 140. It's not a big jump. Teofimo's already a big lightweight. He's been talking about moving up to 140 for a long time already. If he moves up and fights Jose Ramirez, he has to get past his next fight, which is Kambosos. But if he moves up and fights Jose Ramirez, we have a chance to see one fighter be undisputed champion in 2 divisions. If that happens, there will be a debate. There will be a claim to number one pound for pound, right? I have Teofimo ranked as my 7th pound for pound fighter in the world. He's ranked 7th. If he beats Josh Taylor or Ramirez, whoever comes out victorious as the undisputed champion at light welterweight, you can't tell me that he became a 2-time undisputed champion who already took out the previous number 1 pound for pound fighter, which was Lomachenko. You cannot tell me that it's just set and forget it with Canelo at that point. So Canelo has something to look out for. Think about it. Let me just make the case for you. Teofimo beat Lomachenko, who was considered before Canelo the number 1 pound for pound fighter in the world. Teofimo took him down, becoming the undisputed lightweight champion, something that Lomachenko had his eyes on and was number 1 pound for pound fighter and could not achieve. Teofimo did it, beating him. Then would be able to move up and beat another pound for pound fighter to now become an undisputed champion at his 2nd division, which would be an historical feat already. He'd be doing something that I'm not sure has ever been done in boxing. Especially, I know it hasn't been done in boxing at his age. And he's also fighting on Triller, which I think is going a lot underrated. I didn't like their last production, but what they are doing, and we cannot argue the fact that Triller's bringing a different set of eyeballs to the fight. And I believe that on his undercard, he's gonna have fans watching that would have never watched him otherwise if he were not fighting on Triller. So he's coming in with a new momentum of different fans. Man, this could be a quiet storm brewing for Teofimo Lopez. He may be the face of boxing within a year or so. This is the year of the undisputed, and we may see another level reach. It's like Goku reaching another level of Super Saiyan. Just when you thought the last one was crazy, just you thought the last one was the strongest thing you've ever seen, Goku manages to up the ante. And I think we're in a space in boxing where that may happen. And it's a fun place to be, because boxing, you really can't, it's not like any other sport. You really can't project too far ahead. You don't know what your week 17 is going to look like, or week 18 now in football. All I'm saying is that it is a very unique time in boxing. I'm excited to be a fan. And this is the year of the undisputed. We may see more undisputed champions than we've ever seen before, including potentially a new level of Super Saiyan. Guys, gals, listen to me. I need you to like, I need you to subscribe, and I need you to share, because it helps out the channel and it helps out your boy. You want to help out your boy, don't you? Another thing, I'm not ESPN. I'm not Fox Sports 1. I'm at your fingertips, man. Put in the comments below if you like something, you dislike something. Am I forgetting something? What's your take on the subject? And I may feature you on the show. And of course, I'm going to give you a shout out, boy. Come on now. Tune in next time.